Why did my insurance go up? I didn't do anything. Okay, we're going to answer that question today. So a lot of people ask me or talk about how they are frustrated with the insurance companies because their prices keep going up and they're sneaking in those dollar amounts and all that stuff. I'm just going to kind of uncover the whole piece of that. I notice if you're following me a lot of these videos, I don't want to get you guys to think that I'm only on the insurance side. I'm just trying to explain where they're coming from so you have a better understanding how it affects you and how you can use it to get the best rates and get the best companies that will fit you. If you're in Michigan, I will link a link below. I do insure Michigan, so if you're interested in me quoting you, let me know. Otherwise, this will generalize for the rest of the US in general, because this is all the same subject. The reason the rates go up, there's several reasons. The most being is there's just claims. That's pretty cut and dry. So the company sets a bar and they say we're going to take in this much premium, and then the underwriters are supposed to underwrite the business. They assume the risk. So we're going to say, the underwriters are going to say, we want the risk to be here so that we have this little profit margin, which little to them is billions. So they're looking to make that little $1 billion business out of taking a gamble. They're playing the game at the casino. They're saying, we're going to put the risk here. We're going to stack it in our odds so we get just a tiny bit from each person. 5 cents, 10 cents a month, sometimes a couple dollars a month. If they really cut the risk low, then they're incredibly happy because now, they make $5 off of you, but imagine if they had 7 million people that they make $5 off of. That's a lot of money. That's really the point of it. Is the problem that they run into is what State Farm has recently ran into last year is they put the risk here and they thought the premium could have been just here. Problem is the risk went here. You can't control it. The house lost, so to speak, at the casino. So what happened was they lost $7 billion. That wasn't a light thing. And it's not just them. A lot of these companies are having this trouble because it's kind of the way the insurance industry is kind of shifted, because a lot of the younger drivers aren't driving. A lot of the income from 2008, the crash in 2008 from the housing market, people weren't buying houses, they weren't driving new cars. The cost to buy a used car was thousands more than what you could buy a used car for today, because no one had the jobs, no one was making the income. That it just, people weren't driving as much. The cost of gas was $3.50. It was just, everything was going crazy. Naturally, the insurance companies kind of suffered. They held on and they made the risk, but then when it switched around, all of a sudden they could lower it because there was less risk. No one was driving, not as many accidents. But then they took in all the business, planning for it, and then the economy kind of flipped around. Houses started booming again. The market went up. Selling went really crazy. Everyone's buying a new car. All of a sudden they're driving. Accident. It just happens. So the reason State Farm specifically did that is because they took in a bad loss ratio, they call it. So they put the value here. The risk they thought was here, it ended up being here. So it was kind of a huge gap. And a lot of these companies are having, especially with the events that just happened in Florida. So all these hurricanes, all these companies that are insuring Florida houses are now forced to pay out all these claims. The flooding in Texas. I would imagine if you're with Farmers Insurance, they're probably hurt the worst because Texas is their #1 state for homes. Granted, they're going to have a lot of auto with those homes because they really focus on kind of combining the two. But that's one of the problems. So if you're with one of those companies, and you can Google and see how much they insure in that area, but you're going to see your rate increase because they look at it as a whole. They don't look at you individually. They don't say, oh, well, you're a good risk or you're a bad risk. No, they look at it as a whole unit. Here's our state, here's our area, here's the risk. We're hurting in Texas or Florida right now, so we've got to spread that risk across everybody. So it's just a little increase. That way the people in Texas are $800 more a year because they had one event. And that's the reason in your area that if you have events like that, you're not necessarily going to have the rates go way up. that's actually a positive unless you're in one of those states where nothing happens. Usually Michigan is the state, that's where I'm in, where our rates are normally high because we have a specific medical coverage called personal injury protection. So that usually adds about $300 a year to us. But it's unlimited medical, so if we get hurt, we're covered. That's another video. If you want to check out my videos, I've got actually an explanation on that. So the risk is spread across the whole of the company, and then they just increase it based on that. Now, the risk zone that you're in is typically put into zip codes. So when you have a state, they break it up into sections and they put the zip codes, because they want to say, when I'm determining the risk for a person, how many accidents are in this zip code? How many claims? How many stolen vehicles? Typically, and that's why they break it down. They want to know how old you are, what's your date of birth, and where do you live. So they even pin it down to the average 48-year-old that lives in this zip code has 2 accidents in a year. So they calculate the premium based off that risk. But if it changes, so you're in that category for the 48-year-old that has the 2 claims, not that that's you, but let's say all of a sudden they start having 3 claims. Now the risk has gone up, so then your rates are going to go up. That's going to be more specific. The other reasons your rates could have gone up is you may have gotten a ticket. Sometimes you get tickets and you take those classes that supposedly remove your tickets, the defensive driving courses. It will give you a discount on your insurance in most states, but it will not remove the ticket. Unless you're in a state, I want to say North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, in California, where you can get a prayer for judgment, and that completely removes the ticket to get all together. You pay like a parking fine, and the judge says this ticket disappears, it never goes on your record. That's different than taking a defensive driving course where they remove the points off your license, but they don't remove the actual ticket itself. So it will follow you for anywhere from 3 to 5 years, depending on the state that you're in. Most states are 3 years. The other reason that your price has gone up is if you filed a claim. So sure, someone might have hit you, it's not your fault. You're wondering, why is my insurance going up? They're not necessarily surcharging you. Some companies in some states do. You'll probably know who you are if you're in that state, but most states don't count not at fault accidents against you. Texas, by the way, you're the ones that do get it charged against you, if I'm not mistaken. Each company's different, so you'll have to ask them yourself. But let's say you got an accident, not your fault. Your price went up, and that you think that's why. It could be because there's a lot of companies that give you what's called a claims-free discount or claims-free renewal. What they're going to do is they're every 5 years, 3 to 5 years, and sometimes it goes all the way to 10 years. So the longer you go without filing a claim, no glass claims, no accidents, at fault, not at fault, doesn't matter. They're giving you a specific discount because you're a lower risk. They're giving you what you want. You want to say, hey, I'm a good risk because I have never had an accident. I want you to charge me less. And some of those guys are listening and saying, oh, okay, well, if that'll get you as a customer, we'll do that. But once you have that accident, at fault or not, some of those companies are going to pull that discount away and your price is going to go up. That's another reason. I'm going to go over a few more of them, but don't forget, if you guys have one that I didn't mention in the video, put it in the comments below. It's always fun to see, or at least informational for people to see the different ways that your rates can go up. There's typically with homeowners, so everything's calculated. They calculate the average homeowner files 1 claim every 10 years. So if you have a claim and then another claim within that 3-year period, I said 10 years, but most companies don't surcharge after 3. So in that 3-year period, you have another claim, that could raise your rate extremely high in your home. I mean, you can double the price that you're paying because they know that house had a leak and it leaked again, or something happened and something else happened. You're in either a high-risk zone or something's happening that they don't want to know or find out why or what. They just want to get out of the policy. They'll surcharge you really high, kind of force you to leave, or on the renewal, they'll kind of just kick you out the door and say, good luck, go to another company. Typically, they'll surcharge high. That'll kind of force you to shop anyways. And then they know you're going to leave 80% of the time, the people are going to leave. When you're getting these increases, maybe find out why. Sometimes you have a ticket that just showed up. companies don't always check your driving record every year. They only know when there's a change in a specific zone, or when its time has come where they say, well, every 3 years we'll check this zone, or every 5 years we'll check this zone, because it costs them money to check this stuff. So they'll check it every so often. They might not know you had a ticket for 3 years. And all of a sudden, oh, there's a ticket. Let's charge them. They're not going to go back and charge you more because they didn't find it. That's their responsibility. And you're probably not going to go out and tell them you had a ticket, I'm assuming. But it's basically, that's the way it works. It's kind of a catch and find, so to speak. If they find it, they catch it, they put it on your file. It's on your file, but they'll check it. So that's another reason you might be shopping for insurance and you're finding everybody else is giving you higher rates. It might be that your current insurance just hasn't found the accident or ticket, even though they should know the accident that's on your file. Don't quote me, but I'm 80% sure Liberty Mutual is the one that does this. They give you a 3-year discount up front. So once you've been with them for 3 years, that kind of falls off. And then your rate goes back to the original rate that they would have charged you. You could have bought a vehicle that was brand new and they couldn't load the VIN number. It wouldn't tell them what kind of car it was, so they had to make it up. They said this is a 2020 flying Toyota Celica. And the value of the car was $75,000, right? And they're basing the premium off of the value of the car, not the actual vehicle itself. And then once that vehicle loads into the computer, into their database, then it redetermines the risk, or the symbol, they call them, of the vehicle. And then that will tell you what it should be charged for, and that could benefit you or hurt you. More often than not, it kind of hurts you because they say, oh, we just assumed the car was $75,000. We didn't realize the parts for these repairs were like twice as much. So now if we have to fix this car, it's going to cost us a boatload. So that's another reason. The last reason I'm going to go over is credit. So credit now plays a pretty major factor. It doesn't affect it like you think it is. And when I talk to customers, I'm flat out honest. I say, you know what? You may be worried about the credit. You might not have great credit. It doesn't hurt you as bad as you think it does. But as it changes, it's going to cause your rates to change as you renew. So if they're rerunning the credit, and same thing with tickets, they might not rerun your credit. You might have had a 900 plus score, but then dropped down to 800, but they never rechecked it. So your price may never change. You might go 20 years like that. So that's another major reason when buying and when the price is changing is your credit could have changed. I can't tell you how many times I've quoted a person and I waited 2 weeks and they called me back and said, yes, I finally decided, I'm ready to go, sorry, let's do it. I load it, it reruns their credit, and the price changes. It's like, and it's tough because don't blame the insurance agent for not always having the answer, because it's a lot of work to find out or even notice, did their credit change? What happened? Did I plug in the VIN and it changed that? Did the computer randomly change the coverages I was going to give them? So there's lots of reasons. If companies are kind of like him and hawing and say, oh, well, it's just a general rate increase. That could be, but it's very unlikely unless there's been something on the news where like a hurricane came across and wiped out a whole bunch of houses and cars and stuff that were insured with that company. Now rates do go up and down quite a bit, and obviously it feels like it goes up more than down, which is usually true. That's usually about a 3% increase. If it's more than that, you probably should be looking into different companies. Like I said, if you're in Michigan, I'll put my link below. Otherwise, if you guys are in another state, feel free to shoot some questions, give some answers. I am now only licensed in Michigan specifically. I still have a few more licenses that are falling off, but I was licensed in about 46 or 48 states. So if you have questions, the knowledge is still up there. I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next one. Oh, don't forget, if you liked the video, thumbs up, subscribe. If you didn't like it, give me a thumbs down and boo to you. Oh, thanks for watching anyways. Good luck, guys.